This is Nerd Radio.
I won nothing. I won absolutely nothing. There's no prize to win here. We're all losers. That's a good memory, huh?
I like that.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the hell we were talking about,
But no,
I like that the clip from the show is in the production.
Yeah, well.
At least that makes sense that my voice is in there.
He's calling everybody losers, though. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think I was even involved in that.
No,
you were not.
No,
that
not
was
yet.
strictly, that was a me and Al segment right there. It's Chuck Bean with you for more Nerd Radio along with Al, Beck, and James. We're joined this week, of course, by Mr. Steve Black, talking about some Star Trek. And now we're joined by Eric Banas.
Hey, y'all.
Which means it's time for some Squared Circle Round Table. We had the Royal Rumble this past week. And another thing that we'll get to is at the beginning of the month, we had Wrestlekingdom, which is the big New Japan.
We'll run through that quick because it has been a month, and I'm literally, I think, the only person in here that watches New Japan on the reg.
Sure.
Like, Al, no offense, you don't even watch WWE. And Steve, you've openly expressed to me how silly you find wrestling. So, so that's fine. I mean, to each their own.
There
it's
isn't
fine.
a single
We're all God's
spaceship in
children.
wrestling.
He doesn't have a
Not
point.
yet. Wait till somebody launches
There
as like an
is
intergalactic
Plenty of big
warrior
D's, though.
character.
Plenty of big D's.
Oh, wait. There is a wrestling crossover, though. The Rock was in Deep Space Nine.
He was.
Ooh,
I remember
all right.
the ads for that
I
one.
don't recall that.
And there is that, like supernatural / like alien character on AEW, the woman.
Oh, yeah.
Her name escapes me at the moment, but she does the thing where she boops people's noses.
Sure.
And like it's I don't know, it's a thing.
Far more important than any of that, though, Suburban Commando. All right, I just want to put that out
At
there.
least we forget.
Is that a person or a name of an episode?
It's a Hulk Hogan
It's a Hulk
movie.
Hogan movie.
Comedy classic.
Yeah, you don't remember that
And
one?
the Undertaker plays
Yeah.
an intergalactic bounty hunter or something.
Yep.
I forgot what other wrestler was with the Undertaker.
I
who was
can't
trying to
remember
collect
either,
him.
but yeah.
Those are two wrestlers.
Yep.
I just remember, you're a dead man. That's why you guys don't talk, brother.
So this past weekend,
Suburban Commando.
So this past weekend was the Royal Rumble, the beginnings of the road to WrestleMania. It's essentially where WrestleMania season starts. And WrestleMania, I say even when you're not super into wrestling, WrestleMania is typically the one everyone should see.
Yeah, it's your Super Bowl. It's your World Series of wrestling.
Even on a bad year, like you can take the temperature of what WWE is like by watching that year's WrestleMania, which is kind of cool. And the Royal Rumble is a fun match too because it's a battle royal, but instead of having all the guys in the ring to start, it starts with two guys, and then every 90 seconds another guy joins until they've gone through the 30 guys that are supposed to be in it. And you got to throw a guy over the top rope, and the last guy standing gets to go to WrestleMania and face the champion. This year, this is the third year that we got a women's and a men's Royal Rumble.
That sounds right. Yes,
I believe. And on the men's side, we got Drew McIntyre winning the Royal Rumble, which it was a neat match too because the gimmick this year was that Brock Lesnar, who is the champ on Raw, decided instead of waiting to see who was going to win the Royal Rumble to face him or to possibly challenge him, he just entered the Royal Rumble as number one with the idea that he was going to take out the other 29 guys before they could even get to WrestleMania to take him on.
I'm amazed that he didn't do that.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
I'm glad it didn't happen.
Oh, I'm so glad too, but I was like, he's going to win. Like he's going to win.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to win, but I knew there was going to be a long period of time where he was going to do exactly what he did, which was every person that came in got annihilated within about a minute, and then he would just wait for the next guy until they finally built up a couple dudes to take him out. I was impressed, that Brock Lesnar was in the ring as long as he was.
True.
Because he tends to get blown up real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And and
yes, we get it. You don't know what we're talking about, Steve. Cheese and rice.
I was waving at my friend.
Come on.
And
we're entertaining ourselves over here.
That's
and B, I was entertained with some of the stuff, like the Shelton Benjamin stuff that he did was really fun, and the fact that he sold for a lot of the guys like Keith Lee and stuff was really cool to see. I also read yesterday that there was the news was that there was a backstage altercation between him and Matt Riddle because Matt Riddle is relentless on Twitter against
with all the
him and Goldberg.
Yeah.
And Brock Lesnar was like, you might as well stop tagging me because we're never going to work together.
Mm-hmm.
So initially when you hear that there was an altercation, you're like, oh no, what happened? But I was kind of impressed that was the That's
that
the
was
story.
the extent of it.
Yeah, that it wasn't, like they got physical with each other or they called each other names or something like that.
Well,
It
I
was
think
just
it's
like,
all.
look, I get that you're having fun, but you are promising the crowd something that is never going to happen, so you might as well stop.
Well, he's been doing it with Jericho. He's been doing it with Goldberg. Doing it with Brock. It's just getting his name out there.
Right.
I mean, I'd like to see Matt Riddle go up against all those guys.
Right.
I like him. He's the bro dude, which is so weird because I'm so anti-bro dude. But I'm like, I love the bro dude in the ring. He comes in with flip-flops, kicks him off. Him and the other guy, they had the tag team, the Bruisers or whatever.
Yeah,
the Brosers.
the Broserweights.
I was like, oh, man.
On the women's side, I can't even remember. Oh, Charlotte won.
Yeah.
Which was disappointing because you had Shayna Baszler in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I really
That's who I thought was going to win.
I really thought we were going to get Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch because Shayna trained with Ronda Rousey and Becky took the belt a year ago off of Ronda Rousey.
That storyline. That would have been such a good little story to build up the match.
Right. Now, Charlotte, when you win, you get to face either the Raw or the SmackDown champion. So Charlotte could decide to take the belt off Bayley over on SmackDown. But, man, I was really looking forward to a Shayna Baszler, Becky Lynch WrestleMania match.
Yeah, that's who I thought. I thought Shayna Baszler was going to end up winning it. This is the first time I filled out any kind of like gambling type of deal with the wrestling.
Yeah.
So I filled out like a DraftKings thing.
Yeah.
And I did really well in the Women's Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
I picked Alexa Bliss. She ended up coming out first. I picked Shayna Baszler. She came out last. And I had Charlotte in there, and there was a couple women that I picked that didn't do anything.
Right.
Liv Morgan. I had like almost 2,000 points.
You had mentioned the DraftKings things to me, and I think that's very interesting that DraftKings has betting on a thing. WWE is very open about the fact that the outcome. Like, it's about the entertainment.
The outcome is predetermined, and you're betting on the fact that you're as smart as whoever's predetermined the outcome. But it's really strange to think that with a predetermined outcome, you can still bet on it because they could just check DraftKings and see what the odds are and change the outcome day of.
Totally. I'm sure they've done that in the past. So, I mean, and we've done leagues like this before, like in the road to WrestleMania, where we try to where we draft different teams, and you're basically, because the creative team reports to Vince and Vince has final say, you are trying to guess the whim of one of the most insane billionaires, I don't know how much his net worth is at this point, who has ever lived. So trying to get inside the head of that man is a frightening concept.
A gamble in and of itself.
Yes.
That's fair.
Well, that's a lead-in.
Yeah, I don't think Erica was in here for the tease. Steve once pissed off Vince McMahon. We're going to get that story later at the end of the segment.
Well, here's the thing. You're not dead right now, so you're fine. Like, if he would have gone, like, if you really pissed him off, like he would have gotten your ass by now, please.
Right.
Come on.
There were some other fun matches on Sunday as well. I thought The Fiend and Daniel Bryan was really good.
Yep.
I thought that was
It was nice to see him not in that red light, that overpowering red light.
I appreciated the match not being in the red light, but I have to say that the Fiend title looks really dumb in natural lighting.
Well, I think it looks dumb even in the dark light. You just took the mask you put on your face and you just glued it to your belt. Fiend.
Right.
So his matches are in some ominous light?
Yeah, you know how Kane used to come out and he would do the thing and the red lights would come out? Like, his entire match in the last year, all his matches are completely in that red light.
See, I'm familiar with obviously changing lighting for an entrance, but to the point where your character is so powerful.
Right. Well, yeah, and I think that was
changes
the idea.
The lighting of the arena for the duration of the match.
Because he wears that Joker/Slipknot looking mask, so like it's supposed to be like a horror movie when the Fiend comes out, so they try to use the lighting to make it look good. And that's what I thought forever, is that maybe the lighting is like that because in natural lighting that mask doesn't look very good. But that mask looks amazing.
No, the mask looks great. The contacts he puts in looks great. That really helps sell the character.
Yep.
That lantern he brings, the Bray Wyatt's mouth open with the light coming out of his mouth is a cool little feature too. There's so much stuff about that character that's awesome. But to finally see him in the light, like actually I thought the light made him look even more like creepy.
Yeah.
Because he's got like that weird unitard.
Then.
The weird unitard he wears.
Right.
With the striped pants. Like it's so much creepy stuff that you actually don't see when he's just wrestling in the red light.
It might be neat if they just put the spotlight on the ring and then darken all the other lights.
Yeah,
so
like that would work too.
Because that would feel more like a horror movie. But who knows? That was a cool match, and I thought Asuka and Becky Lynch did a fine job as well. as for the title match.
Yeah,
I thought that had some good stuff in it.
I wasn't paying much attention during that match. I don't know what was going on. But.
It was a hot mess for me. I don't mean to make this all about me briefly.
Please do.
But no, Sunday was a bit of a mess because
you had Grammys to cover.
Yeah, that's true.
Me and my team had to cover the Grammys, which there wasn't a lot to cover for me. But then before we actually like watch the pre-tell stuff, like the stuff they give away before the telecast, and have to report on that. And then obviously Kobe. So like since a majority of my team actually had music news to cover, so I'm watching Kobe updates. I have my eye on the Grammys, which is on like my TV, and then my husband's laptop is streaming the Royal Rumble. So I'm on screens and overload, and it was a long day.
I'm sure.
So I missed some stuff in the Rumble, but I was
Then
fortunate.
leave us! You have no place in this segment.
Oh,
Like
I'm like, pipe your ass down.
Al is so full of himself today. Let me tell you.
I invited Steve. We want to continue talking Star Trek.
I believe at this point you hit him with a chair or
I'm
something,
like,
right?
no,
Isn't that how
I'm
that
like,
works?
here's the
That's
thing.
how that works.
My big ring is closest to him. I'm like, Al's gonna get wrecked today.
He is. He's
One
asking
more
for it.
outburst, he's gone.
He's absolutely asking for it.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Al.
Also, I think the MVP of Sunday night has to be Beth Phoenix.
Oh yeah.
Because
yeah.
she cracked the back of her head on something and
and
continued to be in the match for another 20 minutes.
Forever.
By the time she was out of the match, the entire back of her head, her blonde hair was red.
Yeah.
From bleeding.
Yeah, it looked like a plate of spaghetti. just
Right.
Glued to the back of her
And
head.
it was really cool the big return was Edge in the men's Royal
what a
Rumble.
moment.
And that
Which
was
is
kind of
funny
cool.
because everybody's like, "Oh my God, Edge is back! Edge is back!" And I'm like, when I watched wrestling, I was really into it. He was just another one of Gangrel's vampires. What's the big deal? Cool vampire guy's back.
No, he had a real cool run. But at the same time,
He hurt himself, didn't he? Like, didn't he have to retire?
He had to retire early because of neck
Like
complications.
3 vertebrae
Okay.
Right.
together now.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see some of these people that have had to hang it up because of physical limitations. Like after a couple of years, you know, famously Daniel Bryan didn't get to wrestle for years because of concussions and had to go to 1 billion doctors to finally get cleared and say like, look, I'm okay. I can get back in the ring.
Did you hear the details about Edge's contract though with the WWE? Did anyone hear about that?
No.
I don't know why I'm looking at you two.
Go ahead and fill us in. I think I know where you're going, but go ahead and fill
I
us in.
just heard 3 years.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, the fact he went to AEW to see what type of deal he could get with them. Probably just so he could then go to the WWE and say, "Okay, Vince, beat this."
Right.
So normally contracts in the WWE last for 5 years now. They are like he signed a 3-year deal, which makes sense because he'll be 49 once he's done.
Edge is gonna be 49 in 3 years. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He looks he was in better shape at the Royal Rumble than he had ever been when he was active before his neck stuff.
He still moves in mysterious ways.
Wrong Edge.
There we go. Anyway, so
Not the guitar player
3-year deal, 5 matches, like 3 minimum matches, a total of 25 appearances per year. It doesn't have to be a match every single time. I mean, it could be. Who knows what's going to happen? But $3 million a year.
$3 million a year.
Yeah.
Whew.
So I mean, he has like a Brock deal.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I think Brock makes 8 figures, not 7s, but still $3 million a year for 3 years.
5 matches,
for 5
minimum
matches?
of 3.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Okay, I know you didn't really care much about his
I know
return, and it's fine. But I really hope this means that the Undertaker will sit his ass out. We do not need him. He is in horrible shape.
Right.
His last few matches have been god awful. Once again, we can go back to go away, dead man.
Yes.
I will allow you that other outburst for quoting Harry and the Hendersons again.
Yeah.
But
well,
no.
if Edge is gonna be 49, Undertaker's gonna be 112 at this point.
Right.
It seems like it. It's time to hang him up.
Yeah.
We already have a legacy guy in there who is going to deliver.
Yeah.
Who's not going to be lumbering the whole time. So just sit your ass down.
Well, the Edge. I mean, when you revealed what Edge's age would be, I mean, my God, that made me feel old. Because the thing is, when I hear names that I recognize, I was super into wrestling. I was watching wrestling when Edge made his debut.
Right.
You know, like me and James are kind of joking about. I remember the promo videos of him just sort of like dangling a foot off of the side of a building.
Yeah.
And just a guy in a trench coat. Just,
Who's this mystery man who's
and
putting
he
his
would
life
like
on the line and
run and slide into
rush
the
hour
ring
traffic.
under the bottom rope and all that stuff. So like when I hear names I recognize, I'm like, oh my God, how old are they now? You know?
Right.
Well, he's had 9 years of rest, so he's well.
Was it 9 years ago he retired?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was out of wrestling then.
Yeah, I mean, I was out of wrestling when he got his big push and became a big deal. Like
When's wrestling going to the villages?
might already be there in some parts of it.
So, Erica, we talked a little bit about Wrestlekingdom.
Yeah.
Was at the beginning of this month. That's New Japan's essentially their WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the highlights that you can tell our people listening to us that possibly do not know much about New Japan? What were some of the things that were the big matches this year?
Okay, like it's gonna take. I will try to make this as super quick as humanly possible because I could easily do a substantially tight 20 on this.
Yeah.
But first of all, Wrestle Kingdom was split up into 2 nights, which I sincerely hope WrestleMania considers doing because even my husband and I, we woke up. It aired live from Tokyo. We got our asses up at 2 a.m. to watch this jazz, and I have no regrets. Even with waking up that early, splitting the card into 2 nights was just a far better watch than like an 8-9 hour show, which was WrestleMania last year.
Right.
It's too much.
Yep.
You're asking too much from that crowd. By the time the main event gets there, everyone's just tired. No one wants to cheer for. I wanted to curse, but I'm trying to behave.
DMX is here for you.
We've got DMX to cover.
I don't. Well, still, either way, it's too long. It's too long to sit down and watch a thing live. I mean, big takeaways. You had the Jericho Tanahashi match, which if Tanahashi won, he would get an AEW title shot.
Right.
Tana lost. Jericho made him tap, which was very surprising. I had no idea. I thought it wouldn't be a clean finish. I thought it was going to be a little sketch. And truth be told, I thought Tana was going to win because I feel like so many AEW fans and so many New Japan fans, especially American ones who are both like me, were like, okay, this is it. This is it. They're finally going to go into business with one another. This is fantastic. Everyone's excited. And then nothing happened. But then Jericho gave the presser after the match and said, like, look, get over whatever petty business BS you have between each other or whatever happened, just with the elite guys leaving New Japan and starting AEW with Tony Khan. Get over it because together we can all make a lot of money. So bury the hatchet. Let's work together. Just get over yourself. So hopefully that will come to fruition. Of course, now with the Marty Scurll stuff, which I don't know how deep we even want to get into that.
Yeah, because Marty Scurll, everyone expected he was going to join everybody over at All Elite Wrestling, and instead he signed a contract with NWA.
No, he re-signed with Ring of Honor.
Oh, okay.
He's now going to be one of the bookers there. He's doing stuff with NWA. He's got like a thing going on with Nick Aldis. He showed up at a New Japan show this week because New Japan's currently in the United States doing some tours and some shows. So there's a lot of crap happening over there.
The big takeaway I got from New Japan was the after Jon Moxley won his match, Minoru Suzuki came out and they essentially teased that might be his next New Japan opponent.
It is. Like that's going to happen at New Beginning on February 9th in Osaka.
Yeah.
So,
and that dude, like Minoru Suzuki, is legit scary. He's the one guy out of New Japan I know because he's just this scary Japanese guy that hits people really hard.
Minoru Suzuki, too, is over 50. I think he might be 51, 52, but like he can still go. I think that's the most impressive thing, just seeing, and he's still legitimately frightening. Like I do follow him on Instagram, and you see him like, hanging out with like random people at a coffee shop, or like he's a big guy who's into like his sock game. So it's like, here's more Minoru Suzuki socks. Where I'm like, you're still the scariest man I have ever seen.
But nice socks.
Yeah, pretty much.
Are they Argyle by chance?
He looks
No,
like
he
looks like
stance.
he could be like a thug in the Yakuza.
Yes.
Like he's like a mafioso type of guy. Like he's very, oh yeah, everything is good, but he could turn on a dime and murder you. So that's the appeal of his character.
Leading into the Minoru Suzuki thing, you had Moxley who faced off against Lance Archer in a Texas death match. It was a great match. I thought it didn't border into uncomfortable violence. It was just violent enough to where, like, this is sort of disturbing, but I'm not scared.
Right.
You know, not unlike his match with Kenny Omega, where there was that barbed wire net that they used that was just really uncomfortable. That's not my jazz. And then you had your main events. You had back-to-back nights with those two matches with Jay White, Kota Ibushi, Tetsuya Naito, and Kazuchika Okada. So there was basically kind of like a round.
Sounds like she's making names up. Then Akira Takasaki came in and he did some stuff with Minoru Nihara.
Well, the thing is, these four
You
guys.
watch New Japan also? Wow.
Calm down there, Cheech. Cheech Marin over here.
Sorry.
Long story short, these four guys faced off in their various main events, and the whole point was to eventually have, in the main event, have title versus title. The Intercontinental Champion would be going up against the Heavyweight Champion. There's never been a double champion in New Japan history, and it effing happened. So the end result, you had Okada going up against Naito. Okada was the heavyweight champion. Naito was the Intercontinental champion. Both guys are beloved in Japan. They are beloved in New Japan, and it's the crowd was very polite, as is the Japanese way. Like, everyone still remains seated. Like, if this crap happened in America, people would be throwing chairs,
Standing room only.
just it'd be insane. But Naito ended up winning, which was kind of shocking because Okada's been their boy for so long, and he had both belts. He's given his promo at the end of the night, and then Kenta came in and ruined it.
Yeah.
And to give you context, because none of you have any idea what I'm talking about. In New Japan, in traditionally with their shows, they like to leave on a high note. They like to leave a show. Doesn't matter if it's a big pay-per-view or a house show. They like to leave on a high note. So when a villain comes in and clocks their new double champion, and like a hush comes across the crowd, that doesn't happen in New Japan. So the fact that they booked it that way is very intriguing for the future, and I am very excited for the year to come.
Interesting. All right. Well,
Yes.
Steve, get in here on this camera here so we don't have the chat over your face here. I want to hear this story about the time you pissed off Vince McMahon.
As do
I want you to share this with everybody.
It's going to be a 3-second story. We made people wait all this time.
It really isn't that great. I'm just telling you right now.
Now I'll have the chat on my face.
Yes.
Al can help me with the year on this. Was it WrestleMania where they're all in the ring and they try to throw each other out?
That
Royal
would be the Royal Rumble. Yep.
Yeah.
I thought, is that what that's called?
That's the Royal Rumble.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So this was at the Pontiac Silverdome, and it was one of the first or second to ever happen.
Okay.
WrestleMania 2?
Yeah, I was going to say
WrestleMania, I
WrestleMania
think.
3
3 was the one
was
with
at
the
the
Silverdome.
Silverdome because
Yeah.
that had
At the
Andre and
Silverdome.
Hogan in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So I
What
was
it,
at
86,
a
something like that?
87.
87?
Yeah.
radio station at the time called Z-Rock.
Yeah.
And so, the young crazy people, and they wanted, hey, can we bring Vince McMahon in? And I was like, yeah, sure. I didn't really even know who he was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came in, and I did the professional, radio thing, and he was kind of like, I can tell you're not really into this. And I'm like, well, I like real sports.
No, Steve! No!
Yeah, so I was like, I'm not against violence. I watch hockey and, and
You know what
football
man's
where there's
game.
real contact and,
Real athletic ability, but they do have that in the wrestling. It's just all predetermined.
Yes,
Yeah.
but back then they used to pretend like it wasn't predetermined.
Oh,
Yeah,
Back
they were
then
still,
it was,
Yeah.
dude, don't say bad things about wrestling.
Right.
Still real to me, damn it!
Yeah.
Now, granted, he was probably putting on a show because that's what he does, but he raised his voice a little bit and like, oh, so you think it's fake. You are officially invited to be in the ring at the Silverdome. We want you to come wrestle with Andre the Giant. And I'm going, No.
So Erica, he did try to have him killed.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
Because Andre may have.
Because he would have told Andre, he's like, hey, this is a radio guy
Rough
in
him
Detroit
up.
that doesn't think wrestling's real, and Andre would have bent you in half,
Yeah,
man.
he
That's
would have hurt
exactly what I was thinking. Because part of me was like, ooh, a story to tell my grandkids. I was
Yeah.
in the ring with
Yeah,
Hulk Hogan.
You got to survive long enough to
And
have
then
the
I was like,
grandkids.
you know, he's going to tell somebody, hey, this is the guy who doesn't believe the pain is real.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll make sure they actually really smack you around. with
Right.
that, too.
Funny thing is, I did watch that Andre the Giant documentary with the one on HBO, and he wouldn't have broken a bone, but I think he would have hurt you a little bit. Just to,
I think he
Wet
can hurt you
yourself
by
at least.
looking
Yeah.
at you, for God's sake.
yeah, he would have
He
done
can clap
something.
your hands and blow you out of the ring.
Yeah.
That dude was huge.
Yeah, that's
So really,
funny.
that was kind of the only story.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was.
I think it's great.
I thought it was worth.
You know, he wasn't like a real jerk afterwards or anything. You know, we kind of shook hands. He
Yeah.
It's all show.
So it does sound like he just sort of went into character. And
Yeah,
then,
that's the funny thing,
Yeah.
especially with a lot of wrestlers, but especially with Vince McMahon,
Yeah.
is that he can like turn the character on and
Yeah.
off so quickly
And
like
he
that.
probably wasn't super insane billionaire at that point either. Was this
No,
is
he
the
was
time?
he was just a mildly enraged millionaire.
Yeah,
right,
yes.
right. I was just like, by WrestleMania 3, he knew he was onto something.
Yes. 'Cause-
I think he was genuinely taken aback though when I said I like real sports.
Yeah.
Like when
I'm
I
sure.
threw that in, he
Yeah.
was like,
But he's
"Ah."
like,
also he's
I'm
like-
gonna give this kid hell.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
Like,
all,
all
'cause
right.
at the time he's also like, nobody knows that yet. You know, 'Cause at that time too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was like a commentator at that. Yes, he was
Yeah.
the owner.
Yeah.
But it
he
wasn't
was-
common knowledge that he was the owner. He
Right.
was known as the color commentator.
Yep.
because I think if I remember, and God, this was a long time ago, 30 years ish,
Yeah,
Yeah.
roughly.
Yeah.
something like that. Yes, I'm that old. Oh my God.
I
was
was.
on the
I
radio back
appreciate.
then.
I appreciate that you were on the radio back then when I was still a child. So I'm not the old person.
Yeah.
Specifically, I'm the old
Oh,
person.
Yeah.
trust me, I'm the old person in this
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
But I
Steve
do
bit
remember.
his tongue when I was like 49. Oh my God.
49, Jesus Christ, kill yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You might as well just be dead.
Well, you referred to somebody as 51, and I was like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Don't let the world know you're 51.
Maybe that should be the title of this episode. How old is Steve Black?
Or don't let the world know
Don't
that
let
you're
the world know
51.
you're 51. I like that. Thank you, Steve. I'll tell you what, it's a real different show sitting over here.
There's
Am
no
I
res-
supposed to be pushing buttons over here, by the way?
There's no responsibility over there. Why do you think I didn't want to give that seat up?
I see now.
I move over here and I've got drops and I'm doing social media.
Yeah.
Want me to fade back around that way? So you
Yes,
can
yeah,
do your closing
sure.
stuff?
Well, I'm
We're
very
tagging in and out.
I'm
There
glad
you
you
go.
didn't die, Steve.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
just
me
put it
too.
that way. That's yikes.
All right, we're coming back with a little bit more Nerd Radio. Jesus, we've been talking for 25 minutes. All right.
Erica!
Make sure you follow us on social media at
Damn it!
I'm like, you
Nerd Radio.
son of a bitch, you shut up.
Make sure you follow us on social media at Nerd Radio 101. We'll be right back.